Hello. It's nice to see you again. Last time I gave you a general overview of the transition plan to adulthood. As I mentioned, starting today, I will explain each step from worksheet 1 to the final, number 6, one by one. Also, since I have conducted many workshops on this transition planning, which we have named Life Walking Together over a long period, I will be sharing my experiences as well. So, including my own child, I will introduce some representative cases from among those who attended the workshops and explain their stories. Although I gave an overall introduction last time, what you see behind me now is the worksheet template. This is the form, and I have included a link to it in the description of the previous video, BoTV 33. So if you need it, you can click the link and download it as a PDF file. To briefly introduce the format, it looks like this. Worksheet 1 is titled Personal Profile Finding Strengths. Next, if you look at worksheet 2, there are several questions written to help set your vision or dreams. I asked you to imagine your week, and then, for the third question, I wrote out a series of questions for each area to help you set your goals. I'll introduce this in more detail when we get to worksheet 3. For now, I'm just briefly showing you what the format looks like. Next, worksheet 4 is designed to analyze your current situation. Then, worksheet 5 is a format for listing the necessary competencies, prioritizing them, and planning how to acquire them. After that, worksheet 6 is about setting goals for each stage. This is how the worksheets are structured. But actually, while we use these worksheets, for convenience, there are many different formats for creating personal plans. So you can use whichever format is most comfortable for you. Just understand that this is one way to do it. Starting today, I will explain each step in detail, beginning with step 1, creating a personal profile. As I briefly showed you earlier, the format focuses on certain characteristics, specifically about your child. Next, you write down what their strengths are, what they like, what they dislike, and any concerns you may have. Here you can see it says finding strengths. So, if possible, I recommend focusing mainly on strengths and things your child likes. However, as you raise your child, you may actually find there are more things they dislike or things you're concerned about than strengths or likes. That doesn't mean you shouldn't write those down. Of course, you should write them down. But I'm suggesting that you spend a bit more time thinking about what your child's strengths are and what they like. The reason I say this is because, generally speaking, including myself, when our child has a disability, we tend to notice more of their shortcomings. We think that needs to be fixed and this needs to be fixed too. As a result, it's common to notice more of the things we worry about or dislike. That's why I'm intentionally telling you to try to find as many strengths and things your child likes as possible, even if they're small. That's the point I'm trying to make. And now, based on this template, you can start filling it out, but from here on, I'm going to show you 2 sample cases in addition to my own child. The reason I chose these 3 samples is, first of all, in my child's case, we focused a lot on transition planning for things like college or vocational training. In some families, it may be difficult for their child to go to college or get a job, so after graduating from high school, it might be better for them to enter a transition program or participate in an individualized program. So I'd like to introduce a sample from a family like that as well. Another example is a mother with a 2nd grade elementary school child who attended the workshop. What she wrote shows that even families with younger children, not just those with 10th or 11th graders, can do this kind of activity. Also, since she did such an excellent job, I thought it would be good to show you her example. So I've prepared these 3 samples. First, I'll show you the first worksheet I made for my child. The text is a bit small, so I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see it on this screen, but I'll read parts of it out loud as we go. And of course, there's no need to memorize all of this. Everyone's situation is different, and I just want to show you an example of how you might write something like this, so you don't need to look at every detail. All right, sample 1, this is for my child. My child has a social and outgoing personality, works very hard, is deeply religious, and is very positive. These are the characteristics I wrote down to describe my child. I wrote this when my child was in 10th grade. And after preparing this, we once held a meeting with my child's teachers, the BI, the BC, and our whole family to plan my child's future together. So I created this as material for that meeting. My child's strengths are, first of all, that they like to draw. They're not exceptionally good at it, but they're pretty good. So that's listed as one of their main strengths. And in terms of music, we taught them a bit of piano and clarinet, so they were able to play those instruments to some extent. One very distinctive trait is that my child has an excellent memory. If something catches their interest, they tend to memorize a lot about it. But as their social skills have improved, it seems like their memory has gotten a bit weaker. It feels like these two aspects kind of offset each other. Also, they were a visual learner and they were able to use both English and Korean. Next, they enjoyed reading the Bible, praying, and going to church. If you look below, you'll see a list of things they like. It can be a bit confusing when writing about strengths and things they like. The strength can be something they're good at, even if they don't particularly like it. Then something they like might not be something they're good at, but they still enjoy it. So it would be good to distinguish between those things when you write them down. Of course, the best thing is to find something you both like and are good at. So if you look here at the things they like, drawing and sketching are obviously included. Next, they like working with computers. And then they enjoy playing games. Not that they're particularly good at it, but they still liked it. After that, they really liked cats. And then they liked girls. They also enjoyed sharing their interests with others. Looking at the things they disliked, it seems they didn't really like mischievous boys. Also, they didn't seem to like swearing, shouting, or kids crying very much. They didn't like things like vegetables either. Next, there's something written as bees. They were very afraid of bees. Now, finally, under concern, the biggest characteristic of our child was anxiety. They worried quite a lot. In particular, they had a tendency to blame themselves for everything that went wrong around them, thinking it was all their fault, and that was the most concerning part. There are also several other things written here. There were also several other concerns, such as repeating lines from cartoons, or only being interested in things they liked, and not paying much attention to things they didn't care for. This covers the first part about our child. The second sample I'm showing you now, as I mentioned earlier, is from a family who, rather than hoping their child would go to college or get a job, thought it would be better for their child to attend a day program or something similar after graduation. This child is also described as very cheerful and fun, but at the same time quite stubborn. The child likes physical affection with their mother, but not with others. These kinds of details are written here. Next, their strengths are that they are very social and bright. In other words, they are good at saying hello to others, have a lot of information, can naturally focus well on things they like, and have a good memory. They can play the piano and keep rhythm well. These are listed as their strengths. Also, looking at the things they like, it says they enjoy playing video games, watching YouTube, and further down, it mentions they like the mousetrap game. It also says they like bubbles, they like swimming, and it also says they enjoy puzzles. They like going outside. These kinds of things are all listed here. Looking at the things they dislike, it says they don't like waiting. It also says they don't really like it when people pay attention to them, and then they dislike fighting and loud noises. It seems they also don't really like being touched themselves. Here, things like bullying and hitting, of course, no one would like those. Another concern with this person is that they seem to get very angry when they had to wait. Those kinds of things seem to be a concern, and it also seems like their mood swings were quite severe. Additionally, their ability to focus didn't last very long, and communication was somewhat difficult. These were all listed as points of concern. The reason I'm not reading through every single one of these is just to show you the way they're written. There's no need to follow them exactly as they are, which is why I'm introducing them like this. Now, the last sample I'll introduce, as I mentioned earlier, is a personal profile for a second grade elementary school student. If you look at how this person wrote it, you'll see that it's very well done in Word. Looking at the child's characteristics, it says they have a bright and gentle personality. They are persistent in learning and open-minded. That's how it was written. As for strengths, can you see them clearly? It might be a bit blurry, so I'm not sure if you can see it well, but it says the child is not aggressive and tends to follow rules well. He has good eye contact and good cognitive abilities. This child also had relatively good cognitive skills. Although progress is slow, they don't dislike learning new things. They enjoy traveling. When it comes to repetitive education, their progress in reading and writing is fast. These are listed as strengths. And as for things they like, playing at the playground or in the swimming pool, going for walks on a bicycle, petting dogs, traveling with family by airplane, sleeping with their mom, and giving high fives when praised. These are written down as things they enjoy. As for dislikes, it says they don't like drinking water. It also says they don't like speaking in English. This child was part of a family that stayed here for about 2 years as visitors, and it seems that trying to learn English after coming here was quite difficult for them. So I heard that when asked to speak in English, they didn't like it. They also had some difficulty going to the bathroom. At school especially, they had difficulty getting close to strangers, and there were concerns about not getting along well with peers. Their language development was slow, so they would sometimes say things that didn't fit the situation. They also couldn't clearly express why they were upset or what was bothering them. They disliked drinking water and vomit easily. These are the concerns that have been listed. Today, I briefly explained how to create a profile and went over a few sample cases. As I mentioned last time, I have uploaded the template, so I encourage those of you watching to follow along and fill it out step by step. Then, after 6 weeks, once this entire process is complete, your child's transition planning or adult transition plan will be finished. Thank you for watching until now. See you next time. Thank you.